long because of his condition. But he was surely one of the coach's greatest kids. Transferring in from Green Run, I reconnected with all of my friends from Sunrise Hills when I made the team. But I knew that if Fenton was healthy, he would have surely been on the second team, and I would have been on the third team. Because Coach Spellman was just crazy about this kid who I had just met. Even to this day, when I see Coach Spellman, I'm reminded of how whenever I made a mistake on the court, during practice or in the game, I would hear Coach Spellman on the sideline saying, "Get him, Cheeks!" And Fenton would hit the court and produce as long as Coach would allow him to stay in the game. Not deterred or worried about his condition, Fenton attacked life like any other normal, healthy kid. Fenton was a brother who loved to have a good time and loved to see other people enjoying themselves and having a good time. Fenton was a jokester who would laugh at anything he thought was funny, and he didn't care who was around or where he was. One time, Vinny and Fenton and the crew were DJing a party, and this older lady was dancing with this older dude. While they were dancing, he was getting into it, and he went to spin the lady around, and his finger got caught up under her wig. And her wig and all the bobby pins that were supposed to hold it down flew off, and the crowd lost it. After the crowd had settled down, Fenton, being the jokester that he was, steps to the mic and says, "All right now, all y'all ladies better make sure them wigs on tight." And the crowd once again erupted in laughter. One of the things that Fenton loved to do was DJ on the ones and twos. And he loved to dance, especially back in the day, with Tony Packer, Rock and Reggie. I can still remember them dancing to Bass Mechanic and hear one of them yell, "Freeze," and they would all freeze. Until Bobby Roscoe would say, "Come on!" Since he was about 13 years old, Fenton worked on mastering the craft of DJing a party and earned the name DJ Fenton. Once he mastered his techniques on how to get a party started, but you would not see Fenton without seeing him with his boy, his ace, his main man, his homie, Vinny Nichols. These boys were closer than brothers could be without having the same blood. They were always together, and even after graduating from high school, they had their first spot together. And with two DJs living in the same house, that house was jumping 7 days a week. Fenton was so good that early on, Bobby Superstar Roscoe came to his house and got permission from his mom for Fenton to begin DJing with him. He started out with the name Sir Hart, then he changed his name to DJ Fenton as he got older and gained notoriety for getting parties jumping. Fenton was a master inspirational speaker at a party. If you had a rough week or a bad day, after Fenton finished with the mic and the turntables and started dancing, you left the party feeling better than you did when you got there. He would say stuff, then he would give you that laugh. Ha ha! The Inner boys knew how to get a party started. And Fenton sure knew how to keep the flow of a party going. Nothing would get under his skin more than after he got the party going and somebody came behind him and messed the flow up. I remember back in the day when they began to call themselves the Hump City Crew. Vinny Nichols, Fenton Cheeks, Mike Nichols, Keith Easley, Corey Tolliver, Tony Teal, Grover Cuffey, Brian Cuffey, June White, and so many others formed the infamous Hump City Crew. And they coined phrases like, "over my back and down my spine." Those Indian River girls, I can't say the rest, y'all ain't ready. They said things like, "up to it, down to it, forget the haters, they can't do it. We do it because we used to it. Last one, drink one." Whenever they were together, parties would get started by accident. Fenton was an all-around good person who could relate to anyone. He could meet you right where you were. No matter what walk of life you were, Fenton could relate to you. Coach Fenton was a guy who believed in walking in integrity and being a person of good character and being an example for the young kids to follow. As I was talking to one of his sons the other day, I asked him, what would you want the people to know about your father? In his devastation, still in disbelief that his father is no longer here, Isaiah said, I never saw my dad do anything shameful. He was proud of the man his daddy was, and the character he possessed. Because the true definition of character is who you are when no one else is looking. And all the people I have ever had the pleasure of knowing, Fenton was one guy that I can honestly say that from the time I met him at the age of 15, I never saw him in a disagreement or an argument with anybody. Never seen him out of character. Even until the day he left this earth, he was a guy who was always smiling, always liked having a good time, and he loved to laugh. Even when people did things to upset him, he would always forgive that person. He never held on to anything which was something his wife said he helped her with. Fenton was a guy who loved doing things that helped other people, and above all, Fenton loved his family. Fenton loved his boys, and he loved the ground that Christy walked on. Christy told me that they never went to bed without saying, I love you to each other. He had crazy love for those boys of his. No matter what Fenton was doing, he always let his wife and kids know how much he loved them. Fenton was so proud of his family, and he embraced the role of husband and father and loved being a family man. And all that entailed. He loved them with all of his heart, and he took care of them first. Even if they had a DJing engagement, he would tell Benny, I got to take care of my family first. The party can't start until we get there anyway. He loved spending time with his favorite girl, Christy. They would watch Sports Center together because he loved sports, and anything that made Fenton laugh because he loved to laugh. He was also a very intellectual kind of guy who was fascinated by shows like Mysteries of the Museum that they watched nearly every Sunday morning because he and Christy were fascinated by the history behind the pieces of art in the museums. He also loved to watch biographies of famous people's lives, so that he could watch how they got to where they were, through the struggles and everything they had to endure to become famous. He was proud of his home and loved to fix up on it and do things. He loved his lawn, and he was proud of how it looked when he finished cutting and edging it up. Fenton didn't mind working, whether it was at his job, working with those kids, or at home working around the house. He would watch home improvement shows, but Christy was glad that he never put into action what he saw on TV. Fenton also thought he was going to be the next grill master. He loved to cook, and he could do macaroni and cheese like nobody's business. He struggled with that brisket though, but he had a passion for cooking and watching people enjoy themselves as they ate his cooking. And he loved his brother Dirk as well. When he would call Dirk, he would never call him by his name. He would answer the phone with, "What's up, cowboy?" Fenton was also a man after my own heart, because when it came time for football season, he loved America's team. That's right, haters, y'all already know. We're talking about the Cowboys. He was also a Tar Heels fan, and he loved rooting for and talking about his teams. But as I was asking God for a word to speak over Fenton's life, he took me to this text when Paul declares, Paul now recognizes that his life is coming to an end, and he declares to Timothy confidently, watch this, in verse 6, as for me, my life has already been poured out as an offering to God. The time of my death is near. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. And today we can celebrate the fact that Fenton poured his life out as an offering to make the world a better place as a result of him being on it. He poured out his life for his wife. He poured out his life for his children. He poured out his life for his family. He poured out his life for his friends. He poured out his life for the bear pets. Is there anybody in here that knows that Fenton Cheeks poured out his life as an offering? And I can hear God say, you have been faithful over a few things. Come on in and I'll make you ruler over many. Is there anybody in here that knows that last Sunday, Fenton Cheeks heard the voice of God saying, well done? Do I have any believers in here that know that one of these old days, you and I our lives and determine if we have left an impact on this world. And when such times occur, according to this text, we have to know that we will be rewarded for fighting the good fight. Now, the relevant question for us who are still yet alive is, if it were us who God called last Sunday, have we poured out our lives as an offering unto God? Here it is. Paul says, and now a prize awaits me, the crown of the righteous. One of the things that impressed me about Fenton was the fact that he had a dream and a vision of starting a basketball league. He was the president and founder of the Virginia Bearcats, and he used this league as an avenue to mentor, grow these kids, and keep them out of trouble, where he could use the principles of basketball to instill life-changing behavior into these young kids. He would encourage them and push them to the limit to bring out the best in them. When they were getting ready for a game, he would call them together. He would say, "How do you feel?" And the kids would respond by saying, "Fire up." When the kids made a mistake or messed up, he would give them correction, and then he would say, "Do you all understand me?" He would always tell the kids, "Play your game. Don't let them change your game." And this was the same philosophy he taught them about life. Don't let anybody change you. Be who God called you to be. Here it is. The piece that I loved was that at the end of the season, because the kids gave everything they had, because they kept the faith and fought the good fight, there would be a celebration banquet. Coach Fenton would give everybody a trophy and celebrate each kid for what was special about that kid. He would celebrate each kid for their own special contribution. But watch this. When the kids were exceptional, they were celebrated for being exceptional. But not often is there a banquet that is given to celebrate the coach for pouring out his life for the sake of others. But on last Sunday afternoon, around 6 or 7 p.m., Fenton heard the voice of the Lord calling from heaven. And the voice said, "Because you have poured out your life, because you have finished your course, because you have kept the faith, henceforth there is a crown laid up for you." I don't know about y'all, but I got a sneaky suspicion that last Sunday evening, the God that we serve called Fenton's name, and he said, "Fenton Cheeks, you have been faithful over a few things. Come on in and I'll make you ruler over many." Now he is on the other side, where the streets are paved with gold. Every day shall be Sunday, and the Sabbath shall have no end. You ought to slap your neighbor and say, "Neighbor, it was so good that he deserved more than just a regular celebration." Is there anybody here who will declare that DJ Fenton, Coach Fenton, Daddy Fenton, husband Fenton, brother Fenton was so good that he deserved an encore? Grab your neighbor by the hand and stand to your feet and give God a sure praise for 15 weeks. God, you're praising. I know somebody else who deserves an encore because he poured out his life for you and for me. They hold him high and they stretch him wide. He stayed there from the 6 to the 9th hour. But early Sunday morning, he got up with all power in his hands. Isn't he worthy? Do I have a witness that will give God praise? It wasn't in heaven. It's for the Lord on my side. Tell your neighbor, God has been good to me. If we're going to live a life that is deserving of an encore, the first thing that we learn from Fenton's life is he made, watch this, point 1, a declaration. In the text, Paul says, come on, y'all, sit down, y'all make me nervous. Paul says, "My life has been poured out as an offering." Fenton poured out his life as an offering, and he was so many things to so many people. But secondly, if we're going to live a life that is deserving of an encore, the second thing that Fenton showed me, y'all, was point 2. We're going to have dedication. One of the things Fenton showed us through his life is that he was a dedicated man, and he dedicated himself to everything he believed in. He dedicated himself to his wife. He dedicated himself to his sons. He dedicated himself to these boys that he cared so much about. And he dedicated himself even to, watch this, those who he loved that didn't have the same blood he had. So the second thing we need to understand is that you got to be dedicated. But then watch this. Thirdly, the third thing that he showed us was you have to put it into demonstration. Here it is. So often you meet folk who talk a good game, but don't put any action behind it. But anybody that knows Fenton Cheeks knows that he put action behind everything that he believed. So the third thing, y'all, is he learned how to demonstrate everything that he believed. But here lastly, y'all, and we're going to be out. The fourth point I want to leave you all with, because the reality is all of us have to pass it this way one day. And this is evidence that tomorrow is not promised to any of us. I know that there are a whole lot of folk who don't believe whether there's a heaven or a hell. But Corey, I don't want to get on the other side and find out it's true. So here's the last point I want to leave y'all with. The last point that I learned from Fenton was, watch this, he had a desired destination. He knew where he was going. One of the things that has always captivated me about this thing we call Christianity is that this God that I serve gives me direction. And I know that one of these days, I'm going to have to stand before him and reconcile with my life and what I have poured out on this earth. And one of these days, Christy, I want to be like Fenton. When God called his name, and he said, I got a mansion for you, son. You've been faithful over a few things. Here it is. You don't have to be perfect to follow Jesus. In fact, the Bible says, for all have sinned and come short of his glory. You're to nudge your neighbor, so that means you too. That means you. Nudge your neighbor, so you ain't all that. Everybody that mess up from time to time. In fact, some of us out in here got some skeletons we don't want nobody to hear about. But the reality is, when this life is over, and no one knows the day nor the hour, the reality is, you got to have a desired destination. And Tony Till, you know what, man? I desire to go to glory to be with God. I desire to receive a crown, just like Fenton. But the crazy piece is, watch this. Last week, we had an infant on the altar. 2 weeks prior, we had a 45-year-old guy who got killed in a motorcycle accident. And today, 46 years old, 13 days older than me and my twin brother, God calls him home. My brother, my sister, I just want to let you know that tomorrow's not promised to any of us. But the reality is, when the Lord calls your name, the question is, will you be ready? When he calls your name, will you be ready to stand before him? For him to say, well done. Or for him to say, depart from me. I never knew you. When I gave my life to the Lord, I had a 40 ounce in my hand. I ain't going to tell you whose house I was at, but I was somewhere around.